sharing everything with you. You're going to get a lot of content. This live stream right here, it's the wired line. That means anyone wants to listen to the live, I can share it with you. This is recording it in 4K. Recording it in 4K as well, a Canadian piece, but with the wireless mic. This is the most important thing we have here. The wireless mic. So that's what we have to make.
It says you're still host.
Because it kicked me off when I got back on it, it's going to reset.
Can you ask them triple? Huh? So it's going to go up? What? It's going to go up? Yeah. You send me the link. I didn't use it. By side we have the not to take for granted schus of having Moreno Rosh Yeshiva of Chaim Bressler Shlita here with us to be mechazik us, and it's our pleasure to call upon him to say a few words. But before I do, I just want to a few thank yous are in order. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors, Reb Ilya Epstein and Reb Yeshua Stavsky. And I want to thank Yeshua for putting in hours and hours of effort to be Masada the booklets and to make sure that the limud is perfect and very user-friendly, and to make the learning easy and attainable today. I also want to thank, of course, Shirley Weil for arranging pretty much everything. And I want to thank all the people that came from out of town. There are those that are here from Chicago, from Detroit, and we have a close friend of the Yeshiva, the satellite, there's a satellite Scranton branch now in North Miami Beach. Reb Usher Schneidman is a Chashuva member of the North Miami Beach Kallah, and we have here today Jonathan Dagmy from North Miami Beach, who came all the way to participate. And Achron Chovev, I don't think any of us take for granted that we have members of the Anhala here. We have a member of the Kallah in Scranton, and we thank everybody for coming and participating. Without further ado, the Rosh Yeshiva of Chaim.
Is the mic working? Okay, because my mic, without it, I'm not going to speak about mikveh, so but I never spoke about what the union was, no matter when it was. But I was thinking that we have the last two parashas speaks about Shlach, speaks about Korach, we speak about tzaddikim who went off the derech, so to speak. He had 12 meraglim, two of them, Kallah and Yeshua. They didn't fall into the trap. but 10 of them did, and they were supposed to be tzaddikim. They were people who were supposedly represented all the other shvatim. They were chashva people, and they fell into a trap. And it all boils down to midas. We'll talk about it. Then you have Korach. Certainly also fell into. Korach he had nevuah. He was able to see. He knew that theirs would come out from him. That's part of why he fell in so deep, because he thought he's right. Horaya, they're going to come out from me. Tzaddikim, but he fell. He was also there was Vaita, was midas, and then we have historically you have in Klal Yisrael you have Yerovim ben Nevat is probably the Rosh HaChabura, so to speak. When it comes to people who were, and really, and he was. We'll talk about how big he was. So what is it? No matter how big a person is, there's no guarantee, because everybody's born with a Yetzer Hara, and everybody has a fight to fight, and so usually when the tzaddikim they've won so far, so they continue fighting. But there's always a possibility, Rahman Islam. The major need that I think that you find that people fall into, everything is basically, I want something. I want something. That's where a person falls in, because I want it. So, Amela, so the biggest is Gaiva. Gaiva is by Korach it was Gaiva, by Yerovim it was Gaiva, and there was and I mentioned I spoke to the other. I mentioned a joke they tell about. It's a joke, but it's truth in every joke. That someone, by the Chassidish Shishi and Aliyah, Shishi is, and by the Litvisha it's Shlishi, right? Shlishi to. So one time they would go up to Revi already, and the Gabbai was asking people if they wanted to call someone up. So he said, "Ich bin a Kayan." I can't give it Revi to a Kayan. And he asked someone else, "What's your name?" So he said, "I'm a Levi." You can't give it to a Levi. Then he would go to another one. He says, "What's your name?" He says, "Ich bin a Shlishi." So that's not the end of the joke. That's just the beginning of the joke. Okay, ich bin a Shlishi. So they gave him Revi anyway. They forced him to give him the name. They called him up for Revi, and he was really insulted. And he walks up to them and he says to the Gabbai, "From wanneer ich kom, geht men Revi zu a Hund." So the Gabbai said, "Yeah, do it." I hope all of you, so you know Yiddish. Someone ask your neighbor. Whoever laughed, ask them. Okay, but there are people like that, right? Skotnir, that's what it is. So you have Korach held that he should have been the Kohen Gadol. He held it. What do you mean? You gave it to him. His Mishpach was in line now, and I should have it. He wanted it, and he had plenty. He had plenty of money. Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Rav Lechem, right? You have plenty. What are you asking for?" He wanted. What do you mean? He held. He should have it. And what happened? He fell in. He fell in, and he brought it. And it's interesting. He also had 250 people with him, right? They kept around. How did he convince them? So I mean, they were all there. They were all by Kabbalah Satire. How did he convince such an item like that? And then again, this comes into play. People are people. We know that sheikhad helps. I mean, helps to posture you. It means if a person, if you give Moshe, the Chazal they give a Moshe Rabbeinu Musa. If you give a pruta to Moshe Rabbeinu, right, and he has to judge a case, He's Pasal Edis. A pruta to Moshe Rabbeinu. What are you talking about? Right? Yeah, it passes them. Isaiah does. You nend it from someone. Coach kind of give more than a pruta, right? So one time the Satmar Rebbe was speaking about Kairach, and he said that how did he get these 250 people to listen to him? So he said because he gave them money and didn't take anything for it. Because he gave them money, that's why they felt obligated. He's talking, you have to listen. Now you have to understand something. He gave them money. I don't know how much he gave them, but whatever it is, they were all rich. They all had the business hayom, whatever they got from Mitzrayim. They were rich. They were wealthy. That thought you get it. You give a pruta to a wealthy man. It's also that's it. That's a Messias in a person. So they felt obligated to listen to him. And they fell in. So when the Satmar Rebbe said this, it was a Barabim. There was a Litvish Rosh Yeshiva there, and he went over to the Gabbai afterwards, and he said, "You know, I'm happy to be a bucky in Medrash. I know. I said I never saw such a Medrash that Kairach gave money to these people, and that's what. So there's no such Medrash. So he said, I'll ask the Rebbe. So the Gabbai went over to the Rebbe, and they asked him, "Who stated us?" So it's Rashi and Sanhedrin, Nun Beis Beis. Rashi says it. That's I saw this mice brought down. I looked it up myself, and there's Nun Beis Amid Beis, right on the top, first Rashi on the top. Right, he says that he gave them money. So that's what he was. I mean, Satmar Rebbe knew that. And he answered right off and not the answer when he was asked. So if I say Rashi didn't make it up, Rashi doesn't make up things. So if I say it's a medrash somewhere, and it's either not written down by us, or maybe it is written somewhere, and Rashi knew it was needed. Anyway, but there's such a thing. So you see, people are affected by outside things. They mean this. That's a midah that Kodesh Baruch Hu's made. If a person gets something from someone, he feels obligated. That's a midah that we all have, vice dice. And Mamela, he passes anyone who gets something for nothing from somebody, and he's supposed to aid this. I want to speak basically about, because the biggest locui in this midah who was a big tzaddik who fell because of this midah of call it arrogance or selfishness but it's kaiva is Yerovim ben Nevat. Yerovim ben Nevat is pshat. I just want to give a little background about Yerovim ben Nevat. He wasn't just he was Talmud Chacham. He wasn't just a Talmud Chacham. The Gemara Dashins, the pasuk says in Malachim, says that he met Yerovim ben Nevat met Achoy. What's the name? Achoy ben no, Chia ben Shulami. Yeah. So he met him. Now, Achia was a tremendous Navi. It says like this. It's brought down that the biggest Nevi'im of the Dor was always a big transmitter of the Torah, just like Moshe, Yeshua, so on and so forth. So it says he brought down that Moshe was a big Navi. He was the first transmitter of the Torah from Rebbeinu Shalom. Gave it over to Yeshua, and Yeshua gave it over to, I think it says Eli. I don't remember the line. Then there was someone else, and then the next one gave it to Achai ben Shalom. So he said, he was the biggest of that door, the biggest. If anyone had a shot, and you'll see in a minute how big he was, because Yeravim went to him he should sign a letter that people should listen to him. So when they met, this was before Kallah Yisrael was broken up split into Yehuda and Machne, not Machne, but the Malchus of Yehuda and Malchus of Yisrael. But they met, and it says they met in the Soda. It says they met Levadai Basoda. So the Gemara dashes in Sanhedrin that what does it mean, Levadai? It says they met Levadai. They were by themselves. There was nobody else that compared to them. Nobody in learning. Nothing. Nobody. And it says, and why in the Soda? Because they were in the Soda, there was all the grass. They were so big that all the other Talmidim in the area, in the Veld, were like a blade of grass to them. That's how big they were. They were tremendous. That's Achei Shaloni and Yeravim. And so he was as big as Achei Shaloni, which itself was, they were both talking and learning the whole time. And it says also why Basada, because they could look around and see everything. In the Soda, everything's level. They could see if they knew the what do you call it? They were Bucky also in Ma'aseh Merkava. Ma'aseh Merkava, who learns Ma'aseh Merkava? Nobody, right? I mean, but they were Bucky in that also. So it showed that's how big they were. They were bigger than anybody in the door. Okay? And what happened? We know what happened with Yeravim and the Vod, but we'll see in a second now. So what happened was, when he went in that meeting, by the way, it says that Achei Shalom was wearing a new beged, and he took off the beged after they were talking, learning, and all other things. He cut up the beged into 12 parts. This is before the Kallah Yisrael split, and he gave 12 parts to him. He says, "You're going to be." The Rebbe Shimon is saying that they're splitting up. You're going to have 12 Shvatim, and the Malchus Yehuda will have 2 Shvatim. That's all. And so it says that. Okay, this is where he went. So what happened was, when they split up, he says, well, what happens with Yeravim? They were supposed to go to, it must have happened the first year already, because you have to go every year, you have to go to Yerushalayim, into the Beis HaMikdash. So it said that Yeravim said, now only someone from the Beis David, anyone from the Malchus of David, Zerah of David HaMelech, could sit in the Azor over there. Only that Melech, no one else. So he knew that he would have to stand, and the Melech Yehuda is going to sit. Everyone's going to say, oh, this is chesed going on through in his mind. Chazal said it, the Pesukim say it. So he said, and maybe they'll kill me. I'm not going to, people will be angry that I'm nothing. So he said, so he cut off the boundaries. He put up, it was like, he could have used them today in America. He cut off the boundaries. Nobody could go over the boundaries. They couldn't go to Yerushalayim, and he says he's going to make his own. He's going to make it in 2 cities, and then he's going to have, he made 2 agolim, and that's going to, they're going to use that as to bow down to whatever. So I always wondered, you want to make something they should serve, and you. Even as an intermediate, a golem, they were closer to Harsina than we are. Everyone knew about the Maisa Egel. How did you get away with that? It always bothered me. How in the world did he get away with that? Pick out something there, a golem. So it says that 2 things. First of all, he got before he got when he was split, he sent shluchim to Achoy. And Ashkeloni was the Novi of the Dar, and he asked them signed a letter saying that everyone should listen to him. Whatever he does, they should know. Everyone has to listen to him. So Chaim Shloim said, "I'm not going to do that. What do you mean?" He'll say, "You should bow down to Avodah Zarah." I should sign a letter. I'm not going to sign such a letter. So the shluchim said to him, "What? You're choshed? You're Yerovam ben Nevat? Azat tzaddik and azat talmid chacham." And he knew that Yarche knew he was a great in learning. He was equal to him. He said, "You're choshed him? How can you be choshed such a man?" So anyway, he signed the letter. So first of all, we had Acher Shaloni was, everyone recognized him as the leader of the generation. And he signs a letter that you listen to him. So that's one thing, why they listen to him. The second one, he said, he came with a hesber that the Egel was one of there are different figures on the Bar Kova, the Meister Bar Kova. One of them was Egel. That's one of them was the Egel. He should know. He was Bucky in the Meister Bar Kova, right? And so he said, just like in the Beis HaMikdash, there's the Keruvim, right? And there was a human form. So this was Egel. This also, and it represents Ruchnis and so on. That's how he got away with it. By the way, it says that Acher Shaloni Sof Yomov was blind, and the Chazal say he was blind because he took away, because he should have been Roya Sanoilad, which he was originally. He said he didn't want to sign it because of that, but he did sign it. So it said that's why he was. But anyway, that's an aside. So this is what he did with the Klal Yisrael, right? Now, the following. First, the Gemara in Sanhedrin says, the Sanhedrin is full of all these. That the Kufa says that we all know the Medrash. That the Gemara says that Kodesh Baruch Hu said to Yerovam, Chazor Baruch do tshuva, Ani v'ato. He said you grabbed him by the baguette, right? And he says Ani v'ato v'nyeshai natal b'gan Eden. Right? Do tshuva, and you and I and you and Ben Yishai will walk in Gan Eden. In other words, he's promising Holam Abba Fahechav Madrega if he'll do tshuva. So he goes on, and so he said, Yerovam, Umi Baroish. He meant there's me and I know Bernsham, you're the first, of course, but he said me and Yishai. Who's first? Who's the head? Me or Ben Yishai? So Kodesh Baruch said, Ben Yishai Baroish, right? So he said, if so, I don't want it. I don't want it. Now, I'm not going to, you all know Chaim Shlevitz's word that really it was first. First he said, Ani Vato, that he was first. Only after when he asked the question, Kodesh Baruch answered, Ben Yishai Baroish. So this is Chaim Shlevis, so just, I think you all know, but if not, I'm just throwing it in. So he said, so just like you and I just made the diak, that he's ahead of Ben Yishai, it was only changed because he asked. So why did he ask? If he can make the diak also. Yerovam was the biggest Talmid Chacham of the Dar, right? And he had to ask, he could make that diak. He finally made that diak. So why did he ask? Reb Chaim Shlomo says, Et gavol tasechem nachamal. He wanted to hear it again. I want you to know that it's such a mitzvah by people. I was once, I think it was a Lakewood dinner. I think it was Lakewood dinner. Anyway, I met an old friend of mine there, and he was a Rav out of town. And a woman came over to him and said, "Oh, Rabbi, I heard you speak of it. You were wonderful." So he said, "What did you say?" So she repeated it. So when she walked away, I said to him, and I said this was Reb Chaim. He said, "You're right. That's what I did." he was my, you're right. That's about it. I saw you heard. She was very clear. She was standing right next to us. That's gewollt Herr Nachemel. That's a Messias we like to hear, you know. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, so I want to say that the Gemara is saying that the Kosh grabbed him by the coat and said, "Do tshuva," and we're walking Gan Eden. So did that really happen? So I would say that's really not what happened. Not exactly that. So you're going to say, oh, you know, years ago when I was in Vineland in the Yeshiva, so someone said, you know, I saw a medrash. He says that Og, the giant, Og ben Melech Bressler, he was so big, his head reached the sun. So I said, well, of course that's a guzma. So this bacher said, "You're an apokyrist," they said to me, you know. So, you know, those were fighting words, you know. Like I'm not usually insulted, but you know, that's a terrible accusation. So I'll tell you the truth. I said, I have more kashas than but I have just two kashas I have. But there's more than kashas. First of all, I want to ask, if his head reached the sun, why didn't he burn his head off? That's the first kasha. Second kasha I have is this. From the earth to the sun is 93 million miles. The circumference of the earth is 250,000 miles. So when Moshe Rabbeinu killed Og, where did he bury him? Right? That's what I asked. So I don't remember what he answered. I don't think he answered me. How could he answer me? So anyway, so the word is, I could have answered him, but I didn't know at that point that Rapam was asked once, you have to take Midrashim literally. So of course the answer is maybe some, but some you can't. He said, he used to bring this mashal that there's a medrash that says that there was a melech who killed 30,000 people with his pen. So Chaim said, what do you think? He went around stabbing people with his pen until he reached 30,000. He said, that's not, it means he signed a document, halacha, whatever the king signs, that's what the law is. He signed a document which effectively killed 30,000 people. That's what it meant. That's what it meant. So you don't have to take it literally. So, but over here, probably till now, you held that Hashem grabbed him by the coat, and, right? So I'll tell you what in the Maisa in Malachim what happened. They started already doing the avodah according to Yeravim in his two places, and he himself was doing the avodah in Edison. And Rebbeinu Shalom sent a Navi to say the following. Now the Navi was Edo, Ayin Dalet Vav. That's brought down the thing Rashi brings down there. Anyway, it doesn't say in the pasuk, but anyway, there's a whole business with Edo, what happened to him after, but I'm not going to that. But Edo said to him, he said that he said Mizbeach. He was about to bring the Keturis on the Mizbeach, Yeravim. He said it's going to be the Mizbeach is going to split, and the ash is going to be all over the place. So he heard that as he was about to you put the Keturis there. So he heard that Yeravim, and he looked. And he saw me. He's like, and he pointed to him with his arm stretched out. Tafseo, grab him, get him. Don't let him get away. He was probably going to kill him. And before he had a chance, his arm froze. He was paralyzed. He couldn't bring his arm back to himself. It was stuck out like this. You know, imagine what the signage that is. Can you imagine putting your undershirt on like that? You know, next morning. So he got frightened. And then all of a sudden, before he even had a chance to do anything else, the Mizbeach split open and the ashes were thrown all over the ground. So he said, this is not Pasha, this is... So he said to him, pray to you, he said to your God, he said, pray to your God to cure me, please. So he was mispelled the Navi, and the arm came back. And it says, and it was kvatchila. His arm was, it says kvatchila was like originally, like it was before. So the Chazal Darshan on that kvatchila means he was like before. He's just the same. He did the same of, he didn't do tshuva. Then the Psukim go on to tell all about what happened to that Navi. It's a different story. Then it says, V'acher came, what it says, they use the word acher kach, that Yerovim didn't do tshuva. Rashi says over there, what does it mean? And that's the Gemara. The Gemara that brings in Sanhedrin that brings that a Chodesh grabbed Yerovim by the beged. It says va'achar. He brings the whole puzzle. It says va'achar, my va'achar. It says that after this ma'isa, he didn't do tshuva. So Rashi says it's referring to the pasuk referring to the ma'isa that happened where the Mizbeach split, and he didn't do tshuva, and it says he didn't do tshuva. And the Chazal Darshan on this, Rashi says that the Gemara where he grabbed him by, Rabba says he grabbed him by the beged, and that's all ma'isa. So Rashi's saying that doesn't mean literally. It means referring to that ma'isa that happened by the Mizbeach, and he didn't do tshuva because of that. But what's the thought over here? What is the Gemara saying that he grabbed? He said, why didn't he do tshuva? Here, the Navi came and says that you're doing a chet, you shouldn't do that. It's going to split, isn't it? So why did Hashem send this Navi to tell Yerovim to do tshuva? That's why he did it. So he said, so why didn't he do tshuva? So Rabbi was touching it up. It's as if the Rabbi came and told him to grab him by the collar and say, do tshuva, and you're walking Gan Eden. And he said, and you and I and I and you and Ben Isha are walking Gan Eden. So he said, Rabbi is taking this up. So why didn't he do tshuva? Because if this would have happened, that he would have grabbed and called, he couldn't do it because his gaiva wouldn't let him do it. I want to be a Rosh. I'm not going to be the Rosh. I'm not doing tshuva. It was a gaiva that did this. Now here's a man who was Rosh Verubo, together with the Navi Hador, biggest Talmid Chacham. He was probably one of the biggest Talmid Chacham that ever lived, and he knew Ma'aseh Merkava also. He was, and he wouldn't do tshuva because he held that he's not going to be the top. He wants to be on top. There are people that have that. It was bringing out the point that no matter how big a person is, no matter how big in all areas almost, if he has a fault, he has a flaw in his makeup, in his midas, he can fall. He can fall to tachtoin. He can fall to. It says by Yerovim they didn't have. He doesn't have a chelik on Olam Haba. Others they clear, maybe maybe not. But that's it. He was the biggest, but he had a flaw. So and they bring out the Balei Musa bring out from this mice and other mice that a person has to learn Musa. A person has to, without Musa, you're not going to make it. You have to have Musa. Now, I mean, I know there used to be machlekes in the yeshivas, not in America, but in Europe, in the 2 days before, whether or not you didn't have to learn Musa or not. There were some yeshivas, but Tafka didn't. You could learn that's enough. But so I think everybody now, everybody learns Musa today. All yeshivas. I don't know of any yeshivas that don't, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think that all yeshivas, and I think even the yeshivas, everybody, they learn Musa. Mesilas Yesharim is something in every yeshiva has. Everyone learns it. It's just to bring out the point that all of us, no matter how big we are, and we're not as big as any one of the people we just mentioned, we need Musa. And today, where do you learn Musa? Well, you can learn Musa anywhere, but you learn Musa in yeshivas. And this is something which it's an integral part of what the yeshivas give, besides all the lumdis and all the bakiyas and they also, you have to learn Musa. You have to address the faults that people have. The Torah speaks about it. Musa's farm speak about it. This is something which we all have to face ourselves in order to be matzliach, and always remember, no matter how big you think you might have steiged, but all of us, Baruch Hashem, been to these yeshivas, we've taka grown, but we're never bigger than any of the people we just mentioned. We have to say to learn Musa, keep it in mind, learn it, teach it to our children, because otherwise it's not going to work. And we should all of us steig, taka, and we should be zeichet to see Mashiach b'mehera b'yameinu.